Now? Okay, hi there guys and welcome to our midweek photo talk. My name is André Appel. I'm a photographer from central Germany.
Thanks, Andre. I'm Kevin. I'm from New Zealand. I live in Ireland.
And I'm Mark Helm. I'm from London, Ontario. I'm found here on G+. Today we're going to talk about some macro stuff.
Right, Mark is our special guest today. He does some awesome stuff I've never seen before in macro photography. You can see the pictures on his wall behind him, for instance, but I guess he got some cool shots up his sleeve to show us.
Okay, I thought probably what we'll do here is I'll walk through maybe half a dozen pictures,
Yeah?
and maybe we can just talk a little bit about what they are and how I got them. First
Whoa.
one, this first one is a crane fly. They're very common around us. One thing with my macro shooting is that I do focal stacking, and I do focal stacking almost 100% of the time. I do it so I can I try to capture what my eye sees, and gives me the depth of field that you normally wouldn't see in a macro shot. This particular shot is 10 shots put together. I use Zener Stacker as a software to put them together. A couple of things that are my enemies. One is the wind, and the other is anything that moves, like a bug. So those are the challenges when I go out.
So each shot is shot at which f-stop for
I shoot
roundabout?
I shoot normally at around f8.
All right.
I don't normally worry about moving up and down on the f-stops. I'm just concerned about getting the shots together.
And normally with just one shot at f8 you would get which depth of field? Millimeters or less even?
Not even millimeters. You
Oh
know,
man.
we're going to get, well, what normally happens is you see a butterfly sideways, and you get the macro shot, and everything is in focus. So that's about the depth of field, is the thickness of a butterfly.
Oh, okay. That isn't much. So this little bugger was really small. I think there are those small water pearls.
Yeah, yeah. Let me just bring this back up again. A little bit of hesitation here.
No problem.
Yeah, I haven't been doing this for all that long. It's since I retired, I've kind of taken it up, and it's really filled. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy the challenge of capturing them
Yeah,
in the field.
how did you get it to hold that still, I'd say. I mean,
Most
whenever
of
I
them are,
see bugs, they move. These
yes,
little
that's true.
creepers.
Most of my shooting is done in the morning
Okay.
before the sun comes up, or until the sun comes over. The best ones are the ones where you have a heavy dew, and the bugs get dew on them because they won't fly until the dew is off of them. And then the other thing that I do is inside studio shots, and this is a feather, and we'll talk about this a little bit later. Another one is a studio shot. These ones are all. This one is almost 70 shots.
7T.
70.
Whoa, what size is this object?
This is a flower, a spent flower, and these are the seed pods. So this is probably I don't think it's any more than maybe 10 millimeters across. But I was trying to get the fine detail in all the little filaments here, and I couldn't do it unless I really cut down my depth of field and added them up. So the more frilly it is, the harder it is for me to get it. There's another one, same kind of thing.
I'm curious there, Mark. Just on that particular shot, the black background, was that shot with the black background, or was that flash induced? Or
That's flash induced. I use a flash on that one.
yeah,
That one's not. That wasn't a flash. That's using a two photo fiber optic lights. I'll show you the setup here in a little while. And then the ones outside are the ones I really like to get because when you actually get one, it's kind of a challenge because these guys move around all the time. You see them and you think they're still, but their heads are moving, their bodies are moving. And this is a short shot. This is 5 shots. So you start up at the far end. Make sure you get this farthest thing back in focus, and then just come forward all the way out to the flower in the front.
So I guess you adjust the focus by hand then, or do you have a special tool to adjust the focus just millimeter wise, or?
On these shots outside, I just use the focal ring. I just adjust the focal ring, and I shoot them as fast as I can shoot them, because any longer or any delays between exposures um, can just change things. This one, for example, was a shot, and the little slugs crawled out from underneath the fungus, so they weren't there when I started to shoot it. So I was back here in the background, and then these guys crawled around onto the front. So they're basically one shot, because what you end up with is you'll end up with streaks of them going across there
Yeah.
as they move. So you basically get one shot of each one of them, and then wait for them to move off, and then shoot the rest of it.
Okay, I'm curious now. The caterpillar one especially.
Yes.
You know, these things are moving. So if he moves too far, your shot's destroyed.
You're done. Yeah, you're done.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Which is
It's not like you can pick certain parts of the number of shots you've taken and manipulate them in some way to catch them and put them in one place.
not with all the little hairs that you have along the sides of them.
Yeah.
Some of the ones,
Yeah.
if you have a, I've done it before where I've shot the background flower, and then waited for the caterpillars coming down the stalk or up the stalk. So I wait till he get there, and then shoot him in the picture.
Okay.
I do that a lot with flying insects. Take a shot of the flower, get the whole flower in, and then wait for the insect to come back.
These are all external shots here. What's your setup on that? What's your lens you're using? Are you using a straight macro, or what is
I used the Sigma 150 2.8.
Okay.
Let me just bring the file up, and I'll show you a picture of the setup that I.
No extension tubes, anything?
I don't no I don't use any extension tubes.
Outside, no.
I don't use not outside. I do have some. I do use an extension tube sort of inside, but so my camera setup currently. Well, let's just look at this one.
cool.
That was a 2010 setup, and the reflector's homemade, and then I shoot Olympus, so I'm shooting with an Olympus E3 and a Sigma 150, and then there are a couple methods I use. One is the one of just moving the focal ring, and I do those for short stacks. So if like five shots. If I have to shoot anything more than that, I have a bracket that has a screw on it, which looks like that.
Okay.
Oh
So
man, that's cool.
You turn the handle at the back, and of course the whole camera moves. The difference between those is that when you're doing the adjustments by using the focal ring, you are of course getting variation as you move the focal ring, and you can see that the programs will come back that I use. Xener Stacker will accommodate that. Photoshop does a very good job under doing a line and then merge. It will merge them together very well. But if you get finer, like the ones with the caterpillars where you have the hairs and you want to get the hairs, you can't move the focus adjustment fine enough to be able to do it. So this is the one I started out with, and it's
So you set your focus on the farthest away one, and then you wind that little knob on the end there and just gradually move the camera out.
Yeah. And then recently I've gone to a linear stage. So there's a micrometer here, and as you move the micrometer, the camera sits on top.
Yeah.
And as you move the micrometer, it moves the whole thing. It's much more, you get much finer adjustments with it.
Man.
Okay, so you give us a range of how far that would move, say, for your outdoor shot there.
This has it's a 2 inches of movement.
2-inch slide there, okay.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't use that full 2 inches, would you? I mean, you're using micrometer adjustments, so.
Not normally. Normally, you would only use 20 millimeters, somewhere in there.
And how many shots would you be talking about? Say 20 mil. Roughly,
20, 25.
Yeah. Okay. So you're getting mil, or less than a mil, maybe, per shot that you're actually moving that.
Yeah.
That's very fine.
And that's
and regarding your
go ahead.
Regarding your lens, just tell us how that's a 150. How close is the lens actually getting to the object?
Let me just show you a setup here outside. I was shooting some ants.
I like your diffuser.
Yeah. So the ants are on. This is a sunflower, and this is just outside my back door. So the working distance there is about 12, 14 inches. That's one of the advantages of the 150, that it lets you stand.
Yeah, that's a good working distance. You don't
And
scare
the
them away.
Magnification you're getting?
I think I at that distance, I think you're about 1 to 1. I think you're. Let me show you a picture. I'm not a big how much magnification there is. That's too technical for me.
Yeah, you're more interested in what the result is like.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a bit like that myself. I can't gauge it, but if it's big enough when the picture comes out, I'm happy.
That's right. That's basically what it is.
Yeah,
If you get a picture, you're all set.
I know we've discussed this before, and I have played with macro, but my next thing is get some extension tubes maybe, and get a bit more, because I've only got a 105 macro, and maybe start getting a few bigger images. But you're the expert here, and I'm interested in what you're telling us, because this is helping me a lot. I mean, that's amazing. That is.
That's the shot from that setup that we were just looking at.
But I guess that's one shot only. I mean, you can't focus stack on ants; they move all the time, right?
For sure.
Yeah, that one is. I did a whole series. I shot like I don't know, at least a couple hundred shots to try. They are tending these aphids. They're not aphids, but these things eat the sap out of the leaf, and they excrete. You see the one on the right hand side. He has a little bubble in his mouth.
Right.
And these things excrete that stuff. The ants collect it and harvest it. So they herd them. It's amazing to watch. But
that's cool.
And then, my thing with shooting is, and my slogan is, get low and move slow. So in most cases, I don't have to move more than 20 yards, and I can find all I need to shoot up for a whole day.
Wow.
There are lots of times I don't get any more than 40 yards in 4 hours. There's so much you can see if you just stand still and look around. Just make yourself attuned to what's going on. Spend an hour with a flower. It is amazing. It's amazing what you'll see.
Yes, those are really little worlds out there.
Do you know what the aperture is on this particular shot?
On that particular shot, it's probably f11, f8, f11.
Do you on single shots like that? Do you shoot any smaller apertures?
I don't.
No?
I've shot them at f22,
Yeah.
and it's for one shot. F22 is there. You got to be careful of your chronic aberrations that you get coming in on the sides.
Okay.
And I tend not to shoot. The only reason I shot that one like that was because the ants were moving. Everything was moving. I couldn't get them to stay.
Yeah.
But generally it's what I'm shooting is stationary. It's fairly stationary.
This macro work, it just opens up a whole new world, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. I mean, you don't, like I said, you have people go and look at mountains and the Grand Canyon and everything, and then if you stand there and look down at the ground, there are mountains and there are Grand Canyons and there are lions and there are tigers and there are elephants and they're all on the ground
Sure.
there. It's just
And
and the
right in your
pro
backyard.
right there, and the process is being involved in the process is as important to me as getting the picture. To overcome the challenges of the environment and the camera and all the things that are going on, and to actually get a picture uh, is really rewarding.
Yeah, I've got a question. When you showed your setup,
Yes.
I've seen a remote trigger on there, so you don't use the normal trigger. I think you use the other one just to avoid shaking the camera or moving it a bit.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, I use either a wireless remote uh, or a wired remote,
Yeah.
and I don't normally do mirror lockup.
Okay.
Uh,
So
sometimes
you don't use live view or?
no, I don't use live view.
Oh, okay.
Uh, my eyes aren't good enough to see the detail in live view. So initially, normally what I do when I shoot it is move my lens out to as farthest part out I want to go to, move it back to the farthest part I have to shoot, and then go back to where I start, and then just do increments. And I very seldom look through the viewfinder as I'm actually doing the shots until I get where I think I'm out far enough. And that's the first time I will look back into the viewfinder again.
Cool.
I think that helps a lot of people, that explanation, because um, I- I'm I'm sure most people would be trying to see, is it in focus and everything, but you've just said that, basically you can start at a given point and then just work away. You don't actually have to see what's going on.
Yeah, if you're doing short shots, like if you're doing 5 shots, basically I think the best way to explain it is that you bathe or you paint what you're going to shoot with focus. So it's sort of like panoramic stacking. You have to make sure you have some overlap, but you just look at it, see that the back end of the caterpillar's in focus. It's just bang, turn it, bang, turn it, bang, turn it, bang, turn it, bang, and then you're done. And then that's just kind of the way I shoot them. People say I must have a whole bunch of patience, but in a lot of situations I can go outside for 15 minutes and shoot 100 shots just to stack them up. And then recently I've been trying the winter shots. There's some exceptional shots for with snowflakes and stuff
Oh, that's nice.
out there right now. It is a challenge to take snowflake shots. I never realized how much work it is to actually take a snowflake shot. It's things move around. If their temperature isn't right, they melt before you can get a view on them. And then every once in a while you get a shot, and it
Oh
kind of makes
wow.
it worthwhile.
Wow, that one's great.
Yeah,
That's a huge magnification. That's outside just with the Sigma lens.
yeah. That was just outside with the Sigma. I shoot everything on a tripod, at least as much as I can on a tripod. I cannot. People say that they shoot these things freehand. I can't do that. I've never been successful at it. I guess I'm not strong enough to hold a camera. But it's
That's a fantastic shot. Yeah.
so
Awesome.
there's, and again, these aren't any more than 10 feet outside my back door. This one is about 35 shots, and the material going across is spider web. And there had been a fairly humid day, a fairly warm, humid day, and then we got a real cold snap. So everything got coated with a little coating of ice, and then it started to snow. And I was fortunate to get out there with these before these snowflakes fell. But the little one in the center, I couldn't get it to focus because it's spinning around. There was a little, I mean, I could not feel wind, but it was rotating around like a little windmill.
Wow.
So that's why it's not clear. It was
Yeah, in those little worlds, different measures count, I guess.
yes, they do. And then when we move inside, any other questions on that? Um, I use a 50 millimeter reversed, and I recommend to people that if they're interested in just trying it out, that you can get a 50 millimeter. This particular one is an Icon 50 millimeter, and you reverse it, and then you just put it on the front of your lens, and that will give you a fairly good sense of magnification.
Okay.
And it's fairly cheap. I mean, you just need a reversing ring. You need a ring that's the same size as your lens, so 55 or 62 or whatever it is. And they have rings that are both male on both, and you just screw it in and screw the other one in, and you're all set. Away you go.
Yeah,
Sorry, Andre.
I think those rings are they just have the screws for the filters on both sides, and you screw on the lens.
Yeah, just
But do you set the aperture then on the 50 millimeter by hand?
yes.
Yeah, okay, so you can't use a 50 millimeter that where you can't set the aperture.
No, no, it has to be, and that's you can pick these up. I mean, they're really cheap on the. I can't get it started. Don't want to cross-thread it. But anyways, this I use this 50 mil in front of the 150.
Yeah,
So you end up with a lens that looks like that.
that's cool.
Yeah.
And then
Mark, just for the benefit of the viewers and myself especially, because I have a keen interest in this, as you well know. What do you set the aperture on the 50 mil at? You open that right up?
well, you have to open it up to be able to see it. One of the things that you
Okay.
get with this is that the light through here is greatly reduced. So you can only shoot these or have a separate flashlight or something to illuminate it to start the shoot. And then once you have it focused, you can put your aperture down to where you want to do, and then just continue your shooting. But the more magnification you get, the lower the light. So we'll see here in a minute when we look at the bench setups that you really have to have a lot of light before you can even see what you're shooting,
Yeah.
because your f-stop is so low.
Do you have the aperture on your main lens? Is that opened right up as well?
Well, because I'm shooting manual, I shoot on aperture, and that's where I just open it up to 2.8 and then close down the front.
And you close down the front lens.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I mean, I'm not a technical guy, and I know you aren't either, so this might be a tricky question. Do you know what the actual aperture is with the two combinations? Is there some sort of formula out there that tells us that?
There is.
Or how it works?
Yeah. Cool.
There is a website, and I'll put a link up here that we can maybe put up whenever we actually do the thing.
Oh, great! Yeah.
And it gets totally complicated. I mean, you get into optics, and you get into all the things that go into the optical stuff. This one is not bad, but you get the. This is a 90 millimeter, 90 millimeter, and if you put the 50 on the front of it, you get down into like f35 somewhere in there. It gets really dark, and then when we get into the bench setups where you use a 10 millimeter or a 10x microscope objective on the front, you're down into like f60.
Ooh.
So you can't.
The reason I ask is I know it's the results that count, and when you're working with something, you don't often think about these things. But something I don't do is consult my depth of field tables very well. But I mean, if I knew what sort of a depth of field I was working, I mean, if I knew what aperture I was working with, I could calculate my depth of field. And if I had a micrometer adjustment, that would actually tell me how much I needed to move to keep everything in focus, plus an overlap, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. And you can get a you can get a sure shot now. It's called a sure shot, which is an automated system, and you basically just put the camera on top, figure out how much movement you want to have, tell it the steps you want to have, push a button, and away it goes, and it moves the camera and clicks the shutters. A little too automated for me. And the other reason
that
is
sounds like the system for me, Mark.
It sounds expensive.
yeah, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. It just is not. I mean, I really like the sense of discovery you get whenever you can mix all these lenses up. You can put all kinds of different lenses together and find out ones that do work and don't work. And I'm sure that there's a technical explanation for all of them. I know that there's a technical explanation for all of them. Uh, but I really get a thrill out of setting them up and just getting them to work. It
Yeah.
really gets me going.
I
So I know where
wonder.
you can.
I wonder what exposure times do you end up with a setup like that? I mean, if you say we're at f60, do
It
you
it
expose for seconds, minutes, whatever?
2 seconds, 1 second.
But then
Um,
that's with flash fill in.
yes.
Okay.
Um, and I have this. The setup is we're moving inside now. This is a bench setup. So this is a setup that I have in here, and
Whoa.
essentially I have the camera is mounted vertically, and there's a flash I use which is attached to the camera. I've tethered it to a computer, which then I can see the screen on the other side, and I do that because I can't. This thing is too tall. There's a step stool I have to get here to be able to look in the viewfinder to be able to look down. So once I get it set up, I just look at it through the screen, and I can see where I am and where I'm going.
Where's now the object that you're taking a picture of? Is it it's somewhere on the left machinery, I think. Um,
Right there.
okay, on the left side of the machine we just saw.
It's at yes.
Yeah,
I'll bring another one up. So these are fiber optics lenses or lights.
yeah.
They're variable. So the insect is placed on the table, and what it is, it's a cutoff microscope table,
Okay.
and you use the microscope adjustments to move the insect towards the camera. You don't move the camera. Well, you can. Now that that I have the linear stage, I can do either. I can move the table up, or I can move the camera down. But when you get down to the working distance that we're talking about, I'm only working about 2 or 3 millimeters above this fly. That's the working distance.
Oh man, you're almost squeezing it then.
Well, you have to be careful, because if you happen to move the camera in the wrong direction, you end up with a squash bug, and then you got to start all over again.
And the dirty lens.
And a dirty lens. I've done
Yeah,
that
yeah.
many times. And since I don't kill anything, everything that I take pictures of is already dead. So I start out with a whole bug, and then as we move along here, the bug gets a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller, and pieces fall off of them, and so I end up with things like just the eye or the wing, and that's what I shoot. So this is a look at the bench table camera, and basically you can see it's vertically mounted. In this setup, I have an extension tube, which is basically the same as uh, a bellows, except Olympus made a teller extender that's like an extension stacking rings. So it's solid. It moves in and out, and it's very handy for moving it back and forth. On the front of this is a Nikon E10X objective. It's a microscope lens, and
Okay.
you put it on the front of that, and then you just move your camera down till it's in focus, and that's a little ping pong ball that's cut out there. That's my reflector,
Everything
and
gets
then
smaller.
everything gets smaller, and then the light the light source is adjustable, so I get my light source on so I can see it, and then I adjust my light source so I can get my exposure right. And then once I get that done, I sort of start shooting, and once I get those going, I'll show you the kind of pictures that we get. I love that. I love the setup because it's all tape, and you can use clamps, and you can use vice grips, and you can use all the kind of non-standard things that you wouldn't expect that you would use in a camera setup.
Right.
It's kind of a jury rig kind of thing, and it's really appealing to me. There are some. We'll put some links up here to some sites you can go to that people just. It's amazing. I mean, the extreme that people would take these things to build them. It's just they have their whole life's work tied up in these rigs that they have built.
I have a question there. These bugs, they're so tiny. Do you just lay them there to, or do you stick them onto something to get the different angles?
Some of them I can use a pin with. Other ones I take a long sliver of paper and put a dab of white or carpenter's glue and glue it to either their backs or their stomachs. And then I have a clamp, a thing that looks like that.
Okay.
And you just clamp your piece of paper with your bug on it to there, yeah. And then you can move it around and up and down. And it gives you some momentum.
I was imagining that you'd have to have something because they're so small that a puff, you might breathe on them and actually move them around while you're working, sort of thing.
That happens. You don't want to sneeze because it means you might spend a little time going around on your hands and knees trying to find your bug.
Where did my bug go?
And just a question about the 10 times objective lens, microscope
yes.
lens you had there.
Yes.
What is the advantage of using that?
So you can get this kind of magnification.
Wow, that's a nice portrait.
That's a little moth. That's a moth head. Let me show you.
Now I know why my wife is scared of moths.
That's scary. That is scary.
Well, the thing with this particular moth is that I used him for a little while, and then he got his antenna knocked off. So, in some later pictures, he's kind of broken off right above where the antennas were. So I get into this is a fly's eye.
Oh my God.
That's unbelievable.
And this one was 150 shots. This is the biggest one I ever did, or I've done to date.
150 shots, so that's absolutely much less than a millimeter of depth of field per shot. That's
wait, I figured somebody said it was there's depth of field.
Oh my God. Wow. There's nothing. I mean,
somebody.
Do you remember what the aperture was for that?
It would be at.
Too difficult to calculate.
No, it would be at 2.8. I mean, you have to shoot them wide open
to get the light in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're only like I said, you're only 2 or 3 millimeters above this fly, so there's not a whole lot of room to get light in there to start with.
Yeah.
So if you look at that arc, it's about 4 of those little, whatever they call them on the eye, wide. So I think it's probably about maybe a third of the width of a piece of paper.
It's so hard to imagine, isn't it? But I mean, you can't see a fly's eye with an naked eye. Well, I can't anyway. So
no.
I mean, what we're looking at there is just so tiny, and that's one image. Like that little slice is one image in focus.
Yes, that's one image. So it's and you have to do 100. I mean, you start over here on the corner at the very front. In focus, and then you just stack them back. There is in this picture, you probably can't see it, but there is a rainbow that goes through there. That's one of those objectives wide that's blurred, and it's blurred because I forgot to take the picture whenever it's normally turn, take the picture, turn, take the picture. Well, I did a turn,
I,
and then took
I
the
think I
pictures.
guess
Yeah,
it's just beyond the dark shadow there, is it?
yeah, yeah. It's just where just above where it's dark in the center
Yeah,
of that
yeah. And what do you think the white specks are?
dirt.
Wow, fine dust.
Yep, yep, yeah. You see that a lot on the. Um, it's amazing how much stuff actually gets on them. It you don't really think about it until you see them, but there's a tremendous amount of dust and stuff that get on them.
How do you clean a bug? I mean, you can't just
They
breathe on them or use a dust
they they,
blower.
they dip them in an alcohol mix,
Okay.
and then of course you can blow them to get them off. Um, but they let me show you another one. This is one that I'm quite proud of. It's just have to find it. And there's a whole there's again we'll put some links up. Some really good. I mean, there are some what I do or what you see here. There are people who do things that are just amazing. They're absolutely amazing with what they get done with
Yeah.
the
Okay.
detail
Yeah.
and the clarity.
We put the links under the YouTube video when it's cut.
Okay, and that
Well,
just
I don't know about what other people are doing, Mark, but what you're doing is amazing.
well, thank you. It
It
keeps me out of
is.
trouble.
Yeah.
That's
Keeps me out of
incredible.
trouble.
That's very inspiring.
Let me just show you my one last thing here. That is a scale from a butterfly's wing, laying on a butterfly's wing.
Oh my God.
The structure across the top is a spar that runs from the body out to the tip of the wing, and that's what gives it its flexibility and strength. It's a hollow tube.
It's
Incredible.
just another world, isn't it? I mean, who would imagine that a butterfly wing could look like that?
Yes,
It's incredible.
yes, it is. But it's all attainable. There's not. I haven't spent thousands and thousands of dollars on this stuff. It's not. The most expensive thing I have is the Sigma lens. All the rest of the stuff you can find on eBay. You just look around, and some of the websites we're going to give you. There's a guy by the name of John Hallman from Sweden who does just amazing stuff, and he is very good at reviewing different lenses and what they do, and he shows you a setup and he talks about how he does it, and he's a great reference, and we'll get those up, and then you can get as deep as you want into it, but it definitely is
Well,
a different
I
world.
look forward to those links, Mark. As you well know, that as we've discussed, in earlier days, that what you've done has actually inspired me. I've already ordered a reversing ring adapter and a set of extension tubes, and I've tried what you've told me. Just in our short discussions, and I know how difficult it is. But when we see the results that you're achieving, it makes you want to try. And it's as you say, it's not expensive.
No, it's not. Thank you.
Oh,
Very
thank
cool
you.
stuff, Mark.
Believe
Yeah,
it. Thank
thank
you.
you. I've got perhaps a tip. I've done this thing with the reversed 50 millimeter, but as I shoot Canon and I only have the automatic 50 millimeter, I can't set the aperture manually. But
Yes,
there's a trick. Put it on your camera, dial in the f-stop, press the depth of field preview button, and unlock it.
yes,
You're not supposed to do that, the manual says, but who cares? And then the lens is stuck at that aperture.
yes, and then it's wide open. Of
Yeah,
course,
it's set to that f-stop that you set on the camera before, yeah.
if you're shooting Canon, that ME65 lens that they have it's a 1 to 5x. it's just outstanding, just an incredible lens. I might even buy a Canon camera to try the Canon lens, but it's that good. I just said
I have
might.
a
I didn't say would. I said it might.
I'll check it
I
out.
have another question for you, Mark.
Uh-huh.
You use the 50mm lens as an example. Are there any other lenses you can use?
Oh, you can use any I have a 28, but you can go 65. A lot of them are a lot of the lenses that they use are from projectors. They're
Okay.
they they're projector lenses, and if you go on eBay and just type in projector lenses, you'll see them. There's 28s, there's 50s, there's 85s, there's 65s. As you go lower, the 28s, the lower you go, the less depth of field you have, and the closer you have to work. So
So
you know that
what's the optimal lens you want to put on to reverse? What are you looking for if you're looking to buy a lens you want to reverse?
you just need a 50 millimeter,
I, I,
2.8
I
50 millimeter.
no, I understand that. I'm just saying that if I haven't got one now, I want to go out and buy a lens, say off eBay or whatever. What, you know, if I was looking at a range of lenses, say a 28 or whatever, what are the features I would be looking for that would be the best thing to buy if a 50 wasn't available?
Well, when you're starting out, you don't want to have the frustration level too high. And if
Okay.
you start out with a 28 millimeter, you will drive yourself crazy because you will zip past your focal point and you'll never see it, and you'll think the thing's not working for you. So
Right. Okay. That's the sort of the answers we want. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if you're actually looking to buy a lens, they're excellent. Everybody has that 100, 105 lenses. I'm not sure what the Canons. I know the Nikon has a 100, 105.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's the same. At least for the Sigma series, they built the same lenses for Canon too.
yeah,
So you'll be fine with those.
but you're not the 50 millimeter lenses that I use are not. They're old lenses. They're not. You just need something that's 50 millimeter, and they're manuals. They're the old Nikkor lenses. They're not modern lenses.
Okay.
So you
You
only
can,
have to check out, make sure that the filter sizes are the same, or that your ring matches
yeah,
those sizes. That's the
Yeah.
most important thing, I think.
exactly. And
So
you can go ahead.
you were talking about the frustration levels, obviously, with say a 28 mm lens. So ideally, I mean, to lower your frustration levels, would it not be better to go for a 60 mm lens or something like that, or even longer, and reverse it, or not?
No,
No.
no, I wouldn't. I would. I
You
mean, if you're going for 60 millimeter lens, uh, you know, you I would think that you would probably just want to go with a 100 millimeter macro lens and be done with it.
Right. Okay.
I think you lose magnification. If I
Yeah,
remember it
yeah,
correctly, it's you put the long lens on the camera and the
yeah,
Yep.
short one reversed on the front, and it's the long millimeter divided by the short one is the magnification. So on 200 millimeter long lens reversed 50 millimeter, you get a 4 by 1 magnification, and it
yeah.
wouldn't make sense to put a 50 on a 50 or a 100 on a 100. You get a 1 by 1, which you get with a normal macro lens.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I understand. That's a good answer. Thank you.
I mean, there's a lot of lenses that you can shoot a lot of good stuff. Just regular lenses. You don't need anything special. I mean, especially if you want to focal stack them, you just have to be able to get up so you can get the field that you want to get in focus. So your working distance is dictated by how close you can get to something, and then just paint it. It's exactly the same, I think, as doing a panorama. You get
Okay.
what you in focus, and then you go from there. And I mean, before I got into all this stuff, I shot a ton of stuff with a 1454 2.8, and they were quite nice. I mean, for flower work and all that kind of stuff, they work just as well as something else. If you want to do true macro, you know, you it's like bird pictures. I mean, people, if you want to get closer or farther away, you know, you have to get the equipment. But everybody can take bird pictures.
Yeah, but especially I love your stuff cause you can do it anywhere. I mean, you only need a patch of grass, kneel down and start searching for those little bugs or whatever. Just
Yeah.
go out, shoot a tree, shoot a whatever you find. Look into your household. I guess even there are lifeless stuff lying around that looks great on macro.
Oh yeah. You know, like African violet plants are great. I have a little container over here by the window that my African violets are in, and when I get bored, I go over and shoot a bunch of African violet
Cool.
leaves. They're amazing. I mean, you, you don't, like I said, you don't have to. If you stand and look, I mean, one of the things I do when I get in the field is I leave the camera and walk, and it takes me a long time to walk because I see a lot of things, and then I come back and take pictures of them or get into a patch. I say with an hour, take an hour with a flower. I go out and just kind of stand in the middle of a field, and you become aware that things are moving and buzzing and all the things you don't see. So you don't have to spend, you don't have to go far to do this stuff. It's there.
As I said earlier, it opens up a new world because, I mean, I do mainly landscape work and I do most of the stuff just around me, and eventually you get a little tired of doing the same thing. But it's not often I think to look below me and under a tree or under a leaf or something like that and see what's there. But I mean, you've shown us that simple equipment, a bit of patience, and an eagle eye, and you've got a whole new branch of photography to explore.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think we had a wonderful guest today, Mark. That was awesome. That was really inspiring. I'm looking forward to get out when the snow is melted and crawl through the grass looking for little buggers.
Well, I'm
And
glad you enjoyed it.
yes, that was cool. And I think we're done for now. So bye, guys.
Thanks, Andre. Thank you very much, Mark.
Spend an hour with a flower.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.